Hey everyone, me Kevin here with insights from the Problem Solvers Caucus on the next stimulus package. We're gonna listen directly to what they have to say, so I'll share the video. We'll talk about exactly what they're talking about together here. But I wanna give you a quick reminder, the Problem Solvers Caucus is a group that's chaired by two people, but it's a bipartisan group. It's 24 representatives that are Democrats and 24 representatives that are Republicans. And they have proposed a pretty reasonable $1.5 trillion bill prior to the election. But now we're past the election. Nancy Pelosi blew off the Problem Solvers Caucus bill, so we don't have this bipartisan bill that offered double stimulus checks. But we have some insights from these individuals on the prospects for a bill during the lame duck session and what size we could expect it to be. So let's go ahead and pop on over and listen to their insights right after. Of course, we get 4 totally free stocks with Webull, deposit $100 with Webull, and get 4 free stocks worth up to $1,600, and get life insurance in as little as 5 minutes. All right, let's get to the clip.
Joining me now, co-chairs of the Problem Solvers Caucus, New York Congressman Tom Reed, New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer. Good to see both of you, Congressman. Josh, to you first. When will we get more stimulus? Is that, again, now that a lot of these areas of the country are grappling with rising infections and even deaths, there's going to be an even greater need for aid, whether it's small businesses, an extension of the unemployment benefits. When will that happen, if that will happen?
Great question.
Well, I'm hoping, and I know Tom and I, as co-chair of the Problem Solvers Caucus, feel deeply that it's critical that we get this done in the next weeks before, obviously, the holidays. It's a very tough time right now. If you pointed out, look at the map with cases skyrocketing everywhere. We had the highest caseload here in New Jersey, 4,600 since the pandemic began. So everyone has to take action here, and that means House Democrats and Republicans and the senators are going to have to sit down and leadership at the table and get this done. And I couldn't say this stronger, that we've been working on this for months, that now is the time to get stimulus. Now is the time to help folks families who are struggling.
I want to just quickly interject. Obviously, as COVID cases go up, this becomes more of a pressing issue because we already know that state and local governments are laying off people. If the government shuts down, we're going to see 1 million people get laid off instantly. It's going to be bad. We know that COVID cases come in low on Sundays and Mondays for some reason, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we could easily be over 200,000 cases a day in COVID. And we already know that we have more than 200,000 cases per day of COVID. The reality is, when we see the case numbers at 100,000, we know there are 500,000 people who are sick with COVID. That's just the reality of what it is. We're also starting to hear of hospitals having to potentially start rationing care because people are coming down with auto accidents, but there aren't any ICU beds left, or maybe there are beds because beds are kind of easy to add. You could add a field hospital, but you don't have the staff to tend to people. So things are getting bad. This is a tough time.
Help the food insecure. As you know, so many people are hungry right now. Now is the time to get this done.
Maria spoke with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy about if Congress can reach a new bill during the lame duck session. Here's what he said, and then, Tom, I'll get your reaction.
Do you expect anything this year during the lame duck session? Should we expect more stimulus coming?
Well, the American public should expect it out of their elected officials. There are 23 Democrats who signed a letter in September who said they would sign the discharge petition if they had.
We actually touched on this last week, and we talked about how that's great, Kevin McCarthy. You answered the question about PPP funding, which is what the discharge petition was for, but you didn't tell us anything about checks or unemployment or rental relief. We'll see in a moment how the Problem Solvers Caucus co-chairs here react to this.
No recourse with Nancy's actions. Well, now is the time. I'm right here in D.C. today. If they signed it, we could get it out in 1 day. That's the difference. We are ready to act, willing to act, and willing to work with anybody. We just have a speaker who believes nothing is more important than something.
And we know that this isn't necessarily true. Obviously, it comes across that way, but we know that Nancy Pelosi says, look, if she gives into one thing, it holds up getting relief for everything. And she says, in fairness, we need help for police and firefighters, just like we need help for businesses. We need help for the people who are not able to eat and able to get food, just like we need help for small businesses. It's an equal need is what Nancy Pelosi characterizes it as. Now, do we need the full 2.2, 2.4? That's the questionable part.
Congressman Tom Reed, your reaction to that? And then I'll let Josh respond.
Yeah, what Kevin's talking about is $130 billion of the Paycheck Protection Program. And that would be something which is better than nothing. And that may be something we have to consider. And I'll defer to Josh whether they'll move forward with that. But I think we need more than that. I think what we need to work with Kevin as well as others in the Senate, which we are already doing in the Problem Solvers Caucus, talking to our partners. There's essentially about 8 senators that we're working with on a regular basis. And, we've got these guys back to the table, our leadership, both on the Democrat-Republican side with Mitch McConnell and with
This is true. Last week, they did say they would be going back to the table. This is true. And this is interesting because the person speaking now is a Republican. And he's saying, look, we're working with 8 Republican senators directly. We've already gotten the leadership back to the table. Like, we're pushing. This is good. Even though we don't see these folks in the news much, and when they're in the news, they don't get as much attention, these folks are working in the background to get a bipartisan deal done. I appreciate the Problem Solvers Caucus.
Mark Meadows and the White House. And we've been talking to the administrative officials. Remember, President Trump has to sign this legislation, and we were assured just 72 hours ago that I was talking with White House officials that if we can do a package, it's not going to be a $2 trillion package. That ship has sailed. That is gone.
Wow.
What we need to do is focus on what is attainable, and that is a package somewhere in between $500 billion and $1 trillion, somewhere in that range.
Wow, this is a Republican saying the ship has sailed on $1.9 to $2+ trillion. This aligns with what Trump has suggested to advisors that, you know what, not too jazzed about signing a $2 trillion package if I'm going to be leaving the White House. Now, obviously, there's still a chance Trump could remain president. The Secret Service is, though, already repositioning people to Florida and asking their staff members, hey, you want to work in Palm Beach? Because obviously they're going to be protecting Donald Trump if and when he leaves office. Again, not taking political sides, which is just the facts. These are things that are happening right now. And who knows? Maybe the Secret Service is just prepping, and that may not end up being necessary. But the point is, sticking to the topic of stimulus here, Donald Trump is not, at least from what we've heard from his close advisors, that jazzed about signing a big bill. So what we've got here is a Republican saying, look, we're not going to get a big bill. If we're going to get big stimulus, let's just get a smaller package done now, and then let's do the rest after January 20th. Okay, let's see if we get some more details.
Let's do what's necessary for the American people and for American businesses and individuals, and that is a package that the president will sign. That is a key, critical piece of information.
That's a good point. I mean, it's got to pass the Democrats, the Senate, and the presidency.
Delivering this morning. President will sign this if these guys get out of the way and leadership stops playing politics. It was presidential politics before. Now it's a race in Georgia that is distracting everybody or making them put politics over people. It's time to put people first and get this deal done.
He's so right. It's literally, it was election politics first. Now it's Georgia. And then in January, it's going to be something else. These people suck, man.
Congressman Gottheimer, it's a $135 billion in unused paycheck protection money. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was actually asked about that on Friday, about the possibility of releasing it, and she said that's up to the administration. No, it's not. It's up to Congress. They have to reallocate it. So what was she talking about?
Well, I didn't hear that, but I'll tell you what I know is that, and I agree with Tom. Now's the time to get back to the table, and if Kevin McCarthy wants to join us at the table in figuring out a package that we've got Democrats and Republicans agreeing to, and we know the administration will be there, and we know we've got a group of senators, bipartisan, also eager to get something done, as Tom said, that covers these areas that we've been focusing on now for months, we can get this done. And so now, what I think is critical, and we've said this to leadership on both sides, is and the administration, let's get back to the table. Let's do it this week. Let's find an agreement. It's there. Let's put aside all the politics and help folks. No more.
A quick note, Congress could negotiate during Thanksgiving week here. Just because Congress is not in session does not necessarily mean they could not work. I mean, after all, they're giving the interview while Congress is not in session. So it's commonly said, and I get it, it's a very common slam to just go, Congress is on vacation again. Yes. Recess, though, does technically just mean they're not at the Capitol working, but see, they're giving interviews and they are able to have talks. So it does give me some optimism that people like this are still out there working. And this is both a Republican and a Democrat here. This is not political. There are still people working for us, which is good.
We've got to really stand by Americans right now and small businesses and families, and obviously make sure that our schools have what they need as we go through a very, very tough winter and the testing is ready. So to me, there's agreement. You've got Democrats and Republicans agreeing on a package. We know where we can get across the finish line, but it's a matter of both sides stopping the games and actually getting something done. And I know that's something we've stressed to leadership. My leadership, I've stressed that. I know Tom has done the same, and now it's time to get it done.
Tom, would an extension of the unemployment benefits, again, that extra 13 weeks provided by the federal government of unemployment benefits, that ends at the end of the year, also the expansion that, say, contract workers, freelancers, and people would be able to also collect?
She's talking here about the fiscal cliffs coming at the end of the year, right? At the end of the year, people getting unemployment who've gotten it for 39 weeks don't get it anymore. If you're self-employed, you don't get it anymore. Eviction protection's gone. Student loan deferrals, gone. You got a lot of fiscal cliffs coming at the end of the year, okay? The CARES Act program's gone.
Unemployment benefits through a federal program, would those be two critical parts of a new stimulus package?
That's the frustrating little secret of Washington, D.C. When you focus on the policy, there's broad bipartisan support for things like that. And you're not going to get the $600 amount. Everybody knows that ship is gone. That is a lesson taught, a lesson learned. What we need.
Really? Okay, wait a minute. So he's saying here, lesson learned on $600, AKA the $600 that's in the HEROES Act, which is still in the revised HEROES Act right now. Nancy Pelosi is still going for the $600. Now, we know that Republicans have called this a disincentive. This is why the Problem Solvers Caucus came out with a $450 per week figure. It's interesting to hear Tom Reed here, Republican, saying, look, 600, it just ain't going to happen. If we're going to get a deal done, it's not going to happen.
Do is make sure that you have relief, but you don't get more money not working than you do when you're working. And it's caused a ripple effect that's damaging getting people back to work and having businesses get the employees that they need in back into employment. So there's a solution there, and we know what it is. And people have widely vetted it. So that would be a critical piece, but you also got to get the Paycheck Protection Program. You also need some assistance for food assistance. You need some housing assistance. The package, the contours of it are not hard. It's getting the damn politics out of the way and tell leadership, stop playing games. Enough is enough. Put people first, not politics. And if you do your job, real leaders will emerge, and you let the politics get out of the room.
Nice.
I will leave it at that. Congressman Reed, Congressman Gottheimer, good to see you both.
Okay, very good insight. So what do we have here? We've got actually a few big takeaways here. The fact that we're not going to get a larger package during the lame duck, not a surprise, but now it's being said, right? Not a surprise, but it's being said now. In other words, take what we can get at this point. Get 600, get to $1 trillion. Look, the HEALS Act still provides stimulus checks, and it's $1.1 trillion. Not unreasonable. Maybe we can get to $1.5 trillion and then use the money that came from the Federal Reserve CARES Act facilities, that $454 billion, and really turn this dial back to just a $1 trillion bill while still basically doing $1.5 trillion worth of work. $600 a week gone, but the other priorities still stay. Housing aid, rental aid, unemployment aid, these are important things that parties on both sides and representatives on both sides are still seeing a need for. Very interesting updates here. If you found this helpful, consider sharing it. As always, make sure to check out the bundle coupon codes. Well, actually, check out the coupon code down below and email me if you want a bundle coupon code for the amazing programs on building wealth linked down below. Thank you so much for watching, and folks, we'll see you in the next video.